Here we go. UFC 324 going down Saturday in Las Vegas after a 6-week hiatus. We are back and we are on Paramount Plus here on the Early Edge breaking down UFC 324, brought to you by BetMGM. Make it legendary. I'm Claudia Bellofatto, joined by the usual suspects. We have BC, Brian Campbell, Danny Brasco. Fellas, it's a new era. Like I said, no more pay-per-view. You don't have to pay for each fight. You get Paramount Plus. You get it all. We have a new era of Zuffa boxing as well. The inaugural card going down tonight. BC, how we feeling? This is exciting.
I mean, we are feeling all things fresh and new. You did mention that 6-week break of no UFC, no elite MMA that we will be thankfully snapping with a very deep card for 324 with a lot of big names, a lot of action potential. So the combination of that, no pay-per-view, I feel like 10 years after my favorite year in MMA history, 2016, this could be a very big one. So buckle up. Let's do this thing, all right?
Could be, Danny. We're feeling good about 2026 in UFC.
I'm fired up, Claudia. BC said it all. I mean, there's nothing left. It's a 6-week hiatus. I was walking around like that Pablo Escobar meme, just twiddling my thumbs. Nothing to do on a Saturday. Inject these fights into my veins.
I love it. We're going to give you guys all of our best bets. We're going to talk prelims. We'll talk the main event, of course, the co-main. I want to talk some storylines first because we're going to have a lot of new viewers for UFC. Of course, we have the followers who have been following us the past years in UFC, but some folks who have never seen these fights before, they want to know, who are these fighters? Why are they fighting? What is on the line? So let's start with the main event. Of course, we're talking about the interim lightweight title on the line. Paddy Pimblett taking a step up in competition, going up against Justin Gaethje. So there's really two storylines here. Justin Gaethje coming in, he wants to really cement his place in the Hall of Fame. Paddy Pimblett is undefeated in the UFC, but again, this is a big step up in competition. Let's talk about the Paddy side of things first. BC, you call it a thin resume. What does a win for Paddy do here?
Well, a win validates him in many ways. And look, let's be honest about this. I like him as the betting favorite here. I think it's rightfully so. We should have these questions about the durability of the 37-year-old Justin Gaethje. But for Paddy Pimblett, it's central casting, the idea that if he wins this, if he enters a big build toward an Ilia Topuria unification fight, that, look, he's the star the UFC needs at the moment. He could be the early face of the Paramount era. But when it comes to handicapping this fight, and maybe the reason why I'm so excited about this main event, we just don't know how good he is if we're being really honest. Yes, he's 7-0 in the UFC. Yes, back-to-back finishes over King Green and Michael Chandler. But his biggest wins to date, which include that Tony Ferguson win just 3 fights ago, they did come against big-name fighters who were in the twilight version of their career, riding losing streaks. We have not yet seen Paddy against somebody this dangerous, someone with this much experience who also seems to have this much gas left in the tank. So I think for me, while I'm all ready to enter the Paddy era, if it's time, if Scousers really can't get knocked out, as Paddy says, but I want to see him earn it first. He's going to have to make sure that he shows that that thin resume is capable of handling someone like Gaethje.
And BC, you said it, the market is giving him all the respect in the world, so they believe the hype is real. Justin Gaethje came into this saying, yeah, I'm used to it. Danny Brasco, he's like, I've been an underdog basically my whole career. It's his 15th fight in the UFC, the 11th he's been a dog. But as he said, I'm 8-2 as a dog. What's the biggest storyline for you heading into this main event?
Yeah, he's got that dog in him, but I wonder how much is left in the tank for Justin Gaethje at 37 years old, especially at this elite level. Is this the last ride? You heard his team, Trevor Whitman, his coach, talking about, this would be the final fight if Gaethje doesn't pull this win off. But Gaethje kind of walked that back a little bit and said not so fast. So I'm wondering where he's at, because if you look at the top 10 at lightweight with a loss, what would you do with Gaethje? What matches are there left to make? We've seen the Max Holloway fight. We don't need a rematch with Charles Oliveira. Mateus Gamrot, Benoit Saint-Denis. There's no Rafael Fiziev trilogy. I'm not really sure what the matchmakers would do with him in a loss. And he's starting to sort of air some grievances out. You heard him have some issues with the fighter pay. Dana White and him went back and forth on that. I'm wondering if he's getting some digs in before the last ride here. So if this goes poorly, I think we may see Justin the highlight Gaethje for the last time in the octagon. All respect to him, but I do worry about the durability because, as BC said, Scousers haven't gotten knocked out. And I wonder where Gaethje's chin is.
And he's talked about the age and the durability, and BC, he's been really vocal about the fact that he hasn't focused on family. He doesn't have kids. He wants to get married. So he said for sure by 2027 he's done. Do you think either he wins and retires or he loses and retires, or either way he's out after this fight?
Look, it was his coach, Trevor Whitman, who did say he would retire if he loses. And when I asked Justin about that at Media Day this week in Las Vegas, he said, look, those words never came out of my mouth, all right? He's speaking for me, but I never said those words. Look, I think a loss could be the time that he does at least take some long time off, or maybe even put the gloves down. But I love what he's talking about what the win could do to his legacy, the one last unfinished piece of business to be handled for somebody that is a former interim champion, former BMF ceremonial champion, and for my money, the GOAT when it comes to action fights, not just in MMA, but really in combat sports. I think he's pound for pound the most exciting fighter that I've ever consistently watched. He could use that championship to firmly cement what I think is already a Hall of Fame career, and we know that there's many big fights available to him if he wins, from Ilia Topuria to Arman Tsarukyan to the winner of two guys who recently beat him, by the way, Max Holloway versus Charles Oliveira. I think that with the age, the durability questions, that's all real. I also think what he keeps saying this week is true. He's got the same mindset he had now going back to his pro debut in 2011 when he first got the nickname The Highlight. And that's this. When he walks to the fighting circle, he doesn't expect to come back from it. And it is that grim way of looking at it, he says, that activates that hardcore warrior inside of him. I mean, I don't live my life like that. But this guy's proven consistently he does. It would be a great storybook ending to put the full strap around him before it's all said and done. But hey, you got to get past Patty on Saturday.
BC, you don't come to studio and you're like, this could be my last day right here. Danny Brasco could give me the... No. Let's move on to co-main. Of course, we were supposed to have Kayla Harrison and Amanda Nunes, which was a massive storyline. Nunes coming out of retirement. Kayla Harrison has to get neck surgery, so we don't have that. What we do have, though, is Sean O'Malley and Song Yadong, which is a great fight in its own right. O'Malley, the former bantamweight champion, he lost his title to Merab Dvalishvili, and that was back-to-back losses. He made a bunch of changes in how he was preparing, got rid of the distractions. It didn't end up working for him. Danny, what's on the line in this one?
Another bantamweight title shot, potentially. I mean, you're looking at, this may not be under the radar. It should be on your radar, because the next two bantamweight title challengers are on this card. It's Sean O'Malley and Umar Nurmagomedov. Now, of course, Merab has pretty much confirmed that he's going to get the trilogy with Petr Yan, and Dana White says it's not going to be at the White House card. So there's going to be some waiting time for these guys. I'm looking for either O'Malley or Nurmagomedov to style and show that they deserve to jump the line. Of course, O'Malley has a win over the current champion, Petr Yan, and then Nurmagomedov lost narrowly, 48-47 to Dvalishvili, and he broke his hand in that fight. He could currently hold the bantamweight strap if not for that. So I'm watching to see which one of these guys makes a bigger splash and shows that they deserve the next title shot after Merab and Petr Yan complete their trilogy.
BC, one more storyline I want to hit on this main card that may be flying under the radar. It's Arnold Allen and Jean Silva. Silva's a heavy favorite here, coming off the first UFC loss to Diego Lopez, but he had that 13-fight win streak going on before. Arnold Allen is a guy we don't see often. 11th year in the UFC, just 13 fights, constantly dealing with injuries. Fill in the blank for me. When Arnold Allen is healthy, he is what?
He's a title contender in waiting and one of the top featherweights on this planet. Let's not forget, folks, he won his first 10 UFC fights, basically showing you that he's completely well-rounded. He's tough as nails fighting out of the UK. He's got an insane chin. And while I understand the danger level that Lord John Silva brings to the table, an emotional, almost self-told crazy fighter, he'll get the minus money. I understand that. But let's not forget that Arnold Allen narrowly beat Max Holloway in a 5-round thriller. Let's not forget that he thought he got the short end of a deal in a key fight against Movsar Evloev that could have lifted him directly into title consideration. Yes, he's riding injuries. He's been off for more than a year with a left shoulder injury that he says doctors couldn't figure out what was wrong with him. But when this guy's lined up, motivated, and ready to be there, there's no holes in his game. I'm talking about a sleeping dog here on the card. Watch out for Arnold Allen. Put some respect on that name.
Major respect. All of these storylines you guys can look out for UFC 324. After the break, we're going to run through all of the bets you need, so don't worry. We've got you covered for this full hour. And there you have it. Gaethje, Pimblett, the main event we've been waiting for after 6 weeks. It all goes down Saturday, 9 Eastern in Las Vegas. UFC on the new home, Paramount Plus. Back here on the Early Edge, breaking down UFC 324 with Danny Brasco, Brian Campbell. I'm Claudia Bellofatto. We gave you the storylines off the top of the show. Now it's time to try and make you guys some money. We'll talk about our favorite bets, starting with prelims. BC, what are you looking at here?
Look, I'm ready to talk about a fresh-faced middleweight in Nateba Gaethje, who I think we're going to be talking about Saturday night, Monday morning, the week after, probably for the next decade. Look, a 23-year-old slugger from Cameroon, same place as Francis Ngannou, by the way, who last year took the UFC by storm, 3-0 in his first 3 fights, 3 first-round KOs. He's a monster favorite in this fight against Andrei Pulaev out of Russia, who's 1-1 in the UFC, really hasn't done much to build his name. Because of that, Gaethje to win is just not a bettable situation. But if you're looking for any form of value for the idea that this young slugger, who we once called the Silent Assassin, now for this fight he says he changed his nickname to the Storm. Apropos, by the way, when you have that combination of speed and power at only 23 years old. I think the only value here is the round pick on the knockout finish. I still think Pulaev is there to be slaughtered, if you will, as we continue to build Gaethje into contention, which I think he'll be in the top 10 by the end of the year. So if you go with a KO in round 2, a stoppage, plus 275, seems like a little bit of a fun chance to make. Look, most of Gaethje's wins have been by first-round finish. His Dana White Contender Series fight, though, it was a second-round finish. Can the bright lights and maybe some defensive moves here from Pulaev push this fight past 5 minutes? I think it's very possible. If it does, I think we get the same ending. Gaethje by KO. Joe Rogan saying he's the second coming of John Jones or Ngannou or whoever you want to put in there. This kid's for real, by the way. He also eats bugs and loves kittens. I love this guy. Give me a second-round finish.
Did you say eats bugs and loves kids? All right.
Loves kittens. Sorry, kittens. Kittens.
Okay. All right. Danny Brasco, and we're starting off with some plus money, so that's what I love to see. We'll get to parlays and underdogs, but right there off the bat, you get some plus money. Another prelim you're looking at, Danny Brasco, is lightweight. Michael Johnson, Alexander Hernandez. Hernandez is a decent favorite here around minus 155. Johnson turns 40, but he's finding a late career resurgence right now. What's your play on this one?
Hey, look, Michael Johnson is a man. He's 40. He still looks to be in sharp form training at Killcliff FC. But this isn't plus money, Claudia, but it's bettable money because Alexander Hernandez opened at minus 300. He's down to minus 135 on some books, so shop around. But seemingly the market just has not known how to price this guy. He opened as a plus 210 dog against Chase Hooper. He closed 3-1 and he knocked him out. He opened the minus 155 favorite against Diego Ferreira. He closed the plus 100 dog and he knocked Ferreira out. Very tricky veteran opponent. And now sharps are buying Michael Johnson. I think it's kind of a cute play because Johnson upset Daniel Zellhuber as the biggest underdog in the card in his last fight about 6 months back or so as a plus 500 underdog. So a lot of people wanting that Johnson plus money shot, but Hernandez is the way more explosive athlete. I think he's got faster feet, he's got more power, and he has more paths to victory if he wants to mix in his wrestling and his takedowns. Johnson could certainly have striking success, but Hernandez has more MMA tools. And he just seems super comfortable with his team over at Factory X Muay Thai right now. It's not just that he's training with Royval and Luis Garul and those guys, but he looks to be having a lot of fun. He's out on the town with them. He seems very comfortable in his MMA career right now from everything I'm hearing in his interviews. I think he's in a good spot right now, and I'm going to take him at minus 135, a lot more value than he opened with.
Then he's like, that's cute. Everybody likes Johnson. I'll take advantage of that market move. Thank you very much, which is a massive move there. I'm looking to early prelim. So if we go all the way back to the start of the night with heavyweight, Josh Hokett, massive favorite around minus 240 against Denzel Freeman. And I'm not going to bet the heavy favorite here, but what I will do is go with something that's bound to happen. This fight's not going to go the distance. And that is pretty juiced at minus 170. But if you tell me the heavy favorite is going to win, he wins one way and one way only. He's going to start fast. He wants to ground and pound as soon as he can and as often as he can. He wants to push the pace, hunt a finish, 100% finish rate. Perfect 7-0, 4 knockouts, 56-second knockout in his UFC debut. Opposite case for Denzel Freeman. He wants to take his time, be a little bit more methodical, which is nice, and he's been successful. I just don't think he's going to have the opportunity to do that. So I'm going to back the heavy favorite in a way by saying this fight does not go the distance. And maybe I'm wrong, Freeman wins it, but either way, I don't see it going to the judges. So that is my play in the early prelims. Up next, we have props. Any prop on the board. Danny, what you looking at?
Man, Lord Silva's fighting. I think he can get a finish here. We talked about Arnold Allen's durability. BC mentioned how he's been underrated, but Lord Silva is a different animal. And looking at Arnold Allen's fights, not only is he coming off that long layoff, but he took serious damage in the Max Holloway and Movsar Evloev fights. Evloev had him busted up bad. I wonder how that damage accumulates, and I wonder how he looks coming in off almost a 1.5 year layoff against a guy with immaculate timing like Jean Silva, who is playful in there. He's having fun while you're running for your life. And looking at Arnold Allen's win against Giga Chikadze, you tip your cap. That's an excellent win. Chikadze is an outside fighter that's a lot more kick heavy. Very different style facing Silva, who's going to throw those boxing combinations in the pocket and who's going to throw explosive, unorthodox shots, those spinning elbows, flying attacks. I just think there's too many angles and opportunities here for him to land on Allen, who's been taking serious damage. He was the first guy to ever finish Charles Jourdain. He was the second guy to ever submit Bryce Mitchell. I'm not counting out a ninja choke or something crazy here, too. I'll have the submission prop in there and take Jean Silva by finish at plus 135. I think you put a hurt on Arnold Allen in this spot and really show people that they shouldn't be down on him for a loss to Diego Lopez. Lopez had him mounted the entire first round. He was beating him up bad, and Silva showed a ton of heart to get back up and start hurting a really hard-nosed and tough opponent in Lopez, who then walked him into a spinning elbow after Silva attempted a few himself. So kind of a wild outcome there. Don't sleep on Silva to return and be the boogeyman of this division.
Both of those guys were eating punches. I'm like, how is nobody out yet? They just kept going. BC, what's a prop you like?
Look, I love Umar Nurmagomedov in general, by the way. I think he's the best bantamweight in the world, and everybody loves him in this fight against former two-time flyweight champion Davison Figueiredo. In fact, I've seen Nurmagomedov as high as a 16-1 betting favorite. So obviously a situation where you're not going to get a ton of value. His opponent is 38 years old, has lost 2 of his last 3, and is coming off multiple illnesses and injuries. But here's the theory of why I think you can make money on this. Nurmagomedov by knockout and submission is plus 125. And let's look at the window here, the title picture, as Danny talked about earlier. Merab Dvalishvili probably gets a trilogy for the first title defense of the second reign of Petr Yan next. You got Sean O'Malley against Song Yadong, who's one spectacular performance from being pushed by the company again right to the top. I asked Umar on Tuesday, is it fair that you might be 1 to 2 more wins away from a title, that Merab would sneak in there and get another one? He said there's no such thing as fair. This is a business. So if Umar's smart enough, and he is, by the way, the younger cousin of Khabib Nurmagomedov, trains with Islam Makhachev. We know the family story there. I think he realizes the best thing he could do is shine and look spectacular. The only problem in Umar's game is he doesn't go for the finish aggressively enough. He's perfect in about every category. We did see him fight for the title in January of last year. He broke his hand early, still gave Merab a very tough fight on the scorecards. I think he's going to look to make a statement here to make sure he's not left behind in these rankings. A finish would do that. Figueiredo just might be old enough, wounded enough that it's possible. Figueiredo loves to brawl and go crazy. That could play right into Umar's hands. Let's get a stoppage. Can we, please? Please?
I love it.
Please?
If we're talking finishes, just quickly, I'll mention Waldo Cortez Acosta, Derek Lewis, both of these guys looking for the knockout. Acosta by knockout, bring that juice down. Derek Lewis, we know, more knockouts than anybody in UFC history. But that's all he does, guys. He just sits there. There's no footwork. There's no takedowns. He doesn't try to defend. He just sits and goes, okay, boom. And if he doesn't get there because Acosta gets there first with the volume striking, I think that's where the edge is. So I'll go with the heavy favorite. Bring that juice down. We are not done, folks. When we come back, we're hitting parlays, all the plus money you can get. And there you have it. It is the new era of UFC on Paramount Plus. Comes out swinging. Highlight machine Justin Gaethje collides with Patty the Batty Pimblett in a must-see high-octane main event. Plus, Sean Sugar O'Malley facing off against Song Yadong in a stand-up war filled with high-level striking. Pay-per-view just got knocked out. Stream UFC 324 live tomorrow, January 24th, only on Paramount Plus. Visit ParamountPlus.com/UFC to get started. And as I promised you, plus money is coming up next. We've got parlays, we've got underdogs. Catch it all on the other side. Back here breaking down UFC 324 with Danny Brasco and Brian Campbell. I'm Claudia Bellofatto. Before we get to some more plays for this card, BC, in commercial break, you said you had some breaking news from weigh-ins. What are you hearing?
Unfortunately, before the break, I'm telling you how much I like Umar Nurmagomedov big in his bantamweight contest against former flyweight champ Deiveson Figueiredo. Figueiredo got on the scales, missed weight by 3.5 pounds, including 2.5 pounds over that extra pound allotment for non-title fights. Reports of those on the scene said he did not look good in the face or the body as he come off the scales. No word yet on whether the fight will continue, but that certainly shows you how delicate the 38-year-old's chances seem to be now against a powerhouse in Umar.
All right, we shall see. We'll keep an eye on that. If we have any updates, of course, we'll let you guys know on the show. Let's head back, though, to get some plus money for our friends. Danny Brasco, looking at you first. Talk to me about a parlay you like.
I'm going with a little three-legger here, and of course, we're kicking things off with the first fight of the night. A prospect that I'm really liking, Ty Miller. Big price tag on the money line, but I think he gets it done over his opponent, Adam Fugit. Fuget's sort of been this prospect tester, and he's been knocked out, he's been finished in 3 of his UFC losses. I think the pressure boxing from Miller is going to overwhelm him as this fight carries on. He picks up his reads, and then he starts to pour it on. Look for Miller to get a UFC debut KO and a win. I'll add him as the first leg of the parlay. I'm going to add Natalia Silva as well. You know, Claudia might think that this line is disrespectful over Rose Namajunas, the former strawweight champ, but at flyweight, I don't like her chances against Silva, who just has the edge in pretty much every area of the fight here. She's on a 13-fight win streak. Her outside movement is so swift. She's so explosive and varied with her kickboxing attack. Too many angles. I don't think Rose can out-footwork her and create those counterpunching opportunities. With the volume, Silva will pull away in this fight. And I'm going to close it out with Lord Jean Silva. I talked about how I think he's got a lot of advantages against Arnold Allen. Allen does not have the same ground skills that Lopez did and can't really threaten him there with the grappling. If this fight plays out on the feet for the duration of it, I think Silva's damage is going to accumulate. I'm going to take him to close out the parlay. We get ourselves a nice little plus 121 price tag.
It is disrespectful for Rose, but I'll talk about that later, so that's fine. I'll go quickly here because I actually have a Silva play for my parlay. I'm going to take Silva to win in over 2.5 rounds. You get this around minus 130. I think that's great value. I think Silva wins because of his approach, his athleticism, the aggressiveness that he has. But I do think Allen, who we just talked about, when healthy, he's a great fighter. He is well-rounded, and defense is so massive for him. So I think his defense keeps him in it, but I do think that Silva wins. So I think we see some distance here, but it comes down to Silva. BC, what are you thinking?
Look, we all love heavyweights because the fight can end at any time. So why don't we parlay the 2 heavyweight fights together? Under 1.5 rounds on both. The Josh Hokett fight where he's a heavy favorite over Freeman on the early prelims, and that Waldo Cortez Acosta Derek Lewis fight, which people are kind of split, even though Cortez Acosta is the betting favorite here. One thing I'm not split on is that fight doesn't go longer than a round and a half. Put them together, plus 425. Let's get some cheddar on there, okay? I'm ready.
Let's get some cheddar. Let's move on to Underdog. Speaking of cheddar, and BC, I'll swing it back to you. What are you thinking?
Hey, let's stay heavy, right? Let's go big underdogs right here. I'm not ready to count out Derek Lewis. I've been wrong before in big spots in his career. I'm sure every bettor has, but here's the deal. A plus 260 betting favorite when he's actually in a great run in his career. He's won 3 of 4. Even though he's 40 years old, he's bragging about, I mean, we had a little bit of a peptides controversy, but he's bragging about how he's in some of the best shape of his career up to this point. And here's the key. I love me some Waldo. I used to talk about how he's one of the more underrated heavyweights, but this is his 6th fight in 11 months. He won 4 fights last year. Are we forgetting what that grind does to you? Merab Dvalishvili in December could not make his 4th title defense of the year. His body just sort of slowed down and fell apart. I think Derek Lewis is very good still at one thing, gatekeeping the top end of the heavyweight division. He told me the first punch he lands is going to end the fight. Well, he says that a lot. But let me go Derek Lewis with plus money right here. I think he's got some left in him. He doesn't care about the title. He just wants to make money. How do you make more money? Getting big fight bonuses with a KO. Let's go.
We'll see. We'll see about that one. Danny Brasco.
I do like the shot there because I do think the price tag is crazy inflated considering the schedule for Waldo. At heavyweight, too, the Salsa Boy's been doing his thing, but this is a scary matchup. So don't lay that minus 340. Find another way to play it. I like how BC and you are taking the knockout prop. For me as an underdog, I'm taking another shot. One last ride on Nikita, the Minor Krylov. Is his chin gone? Is there any durability left? I don't know, because he had a 2-year layoff and he came back and got knocked out in 2 straight fights. But he looked solid against Bogdan Guskov before he got caught with that right hand. And he has a lot more MMA tools in his belt than his opponent Modestas Bukauskas. You got to give Bukauskas credit. He was 1-3 in his initial run with the UFC, took a bad knee injury when Khalil Roundtree kind of stomped him with an oblique kick. And after he took some time away, returned to the promotion, he's 6-1 now. He's a good, explosive kickboxer, but he has not fought anyone at the level of Nikita Krylov. And I wonder how it's going to look if Krylov is able to mix up his game, get those takedowns in there. He averages more than 2 takedowns per fight. And I think if he doesn't get caught in one of those chaotic exchanges that he often gets himself into, he can overwhelm Modestas Bukauskas in this spot and pull off the win as an underdog. The market is respecting him too. He opened around plus 140, I believe. Some money coming back on him. Give me Krylov to prove people that he still got something here at light heavyweight.
Well, somebody that wants to prove they still got something regardless of the weight class is Rose Namajunas. So that's who I'm going to talk about here, Danny Brasco, because this line is disrespectful. And I understand that Natalia Silva is on an absolute roll, and she's crazy out there. She is aggressive. She's nonstop movement, nonstop pressure. It's a very tough fighter to go up against. But when you have somebody who has the composure and they have the technique and they have the footwork and they have the jiu-jitsu and they have the takedown defense that you have with our girl Rose, it's going to come down to the judges' scorecards, and I think that could help her. I think that footwork, everything we saw against Miranda Maverick, she was able to slip what looked like near submissions. She was going red. I'm like, she's done. No, I just think this line is disrespectful. I get it on Silva's side of things, but I think Rose, with the 3.5, can cover this when it comes down to the judges' scorecard. So that's the way I'm going to go with that. We got our underdogs down. Coming up next, we have the co-main. We have the main event. Our best bets on the board. You don't want to miss it. All of that coming on the other side. Our breakdown of UFC 324 here on the Early Edge. Sugar, can he do it? UFC 324, it is time to break down the co-main and the main event with BC, Danny. We could say CB, DB, and BC, but that's kind of confusing, so we won't do that. Let's talk about the co-main first. We have Sean O'Malley, around minus 200 favorite against Song Yadong. Talk to me, BC, how you breaking this one down.
Well, look, you know how I roll on these shows. I'm not giving you the bets that you can make a living off of. I'm giving you the small risk, higher payout ones to have a fun getaway weekend with the boys or maybe take the misses out. Here's the deal. We know what this fight is. It's a setup to find out if Sean O'Malley is still among the bantamweight elite. We all love Song Yadong's well-rounded game, but we've seen him lose when he steps up to the highest level against Petr Yan, against Corey Sandhagen. Here's the understanding here. He might be the weakest of the elites, so it's a perfect setup for O'Malley to prove that he doesn't have any issues right now. He just had a Marab issue 2 times out. But if you read a little bit closer on the build and everything that's going on here, look, I've studied Sean O'Malley's game close. Is he elite? Yes, but I also think he's already peaked. I also think he hasn't evolved. I think what he does great, but he's not well-rounded. I think he's going to be in a position the next few fights where he is vulnerable to all different kinds of challenges. Song Yadong's been in the UFC for almost 10 years, yet he's not even 30 years old yet. He's made some great changes. He's a power puncher. You're giving me plus 350 odds on the idea that this fight can end via a split or majority decision. I'm going to take that leap. I do believe O'Malley will get it done. I'm just telling you that this fight's going to be a lot closer than people believe, even if it is the perfect style matchup for O'Malley to still prove that he's got it. Song can take a punch. He's got a heavy right hand. He may just push this to the point where one of the 3 judges says, yeah, I did think he did that a little bit better. Won't stop O'Malley from climbing the title ladder, but it will prove that the best of him is in the rear view.
All right, so it sounds like we're all on the same page that it's Sean's fight to sort of lose. Danny Brasco, how are you betting it?
I do agree. I think he's going to win this fight on the judges' scorecards, but I see it a little further apart than BC. I think he can style on Yadong and potentially win a pretty clean decision. Sean O'Malley is the far more sophisticated striker. I think this is going to end up looking like a bull versus matador fight. You know, Yadong has serious boxing pressure. He's got that left hook that can maybe catch O'Malley against the fence. You saw Merab threatening with the takedowns and then opening with that left hook over the top. And Song Yadong's a guy that's been mixing in his grappling a lot more, training with Uriah Faber and company at a Team Alpha Male. So he's got a well-rounded skill set, but I think he's going to get frozen a lot in this fight by O'Malley's feinting, his timing, his stance switching. BC mentioned the fights against Corey Sandhagen, where Song Yadong has stepped up and not really been up to the level. How about a fight in 2021 against Sean O'Malley's teammate at MMA Lab, Kyler the Matrix Phillips, in which he also lost that one? I bring that up because there's not too many stylistic comps for Sean O'Malley, the way he's swagging on people with those basketball moves. If you're going to find one, Kyler Phillips might be the closest with his unorthodox, wonky, shifty movement on the outside. I think that Yadong is going to struggle once more with a style like that. And I like O'Malley to win on the judges' scorecards, maybe even the 30-27. I might consider taking him on the spread, Claudia.
Yeah, and we saw O'Malley get bodied by Dvalishvili, but he doesn't really have to worry about that when it comes to the wrestling and the takedowns with Song Yadong. So I do think that Silva wins this with the striking. We talked about it. He's landing over 6 significant strikes a minute. We're talking 61% striking accuracy. He has the reach, the height advantage. So I do think Silva wins it. But I do think that Song Yadong is going to be able to stand and trade. This is expected to go the distance at minus 200. So I do think it'll come down to the judges' scorecards, and I will take Sean O'Malley by decision. Yadong's only been knocked out once, 2016, one doctor's stoppage. But other than that, we see distance out of him. So we're all on the same page. We're going with Sugar Sean O'Malley. Let's move on to the main event, the interim title fight, Justin Gaethje, Paddy Pimblett. Patty, we talked about it at the top. Both guys, a lot to prove in very different ways. Pimblett around minus 230 favorite, of course, depending on where you shop. We got to bring this juice down one way or another. Danny, how you doing it?
I'm going to look to the method of victory props, and I think Paddy the Baddy gets it done with the most dangerous weapon in this fight, his jiu-jitsu skills. Justin Gaethje clearly has the edge on the feet. Paddy's getting a lot of criticism for his striking defense. He overextends on his punches. He keeps his chin up in the air. How's he going to fare against the guy that can blast him in the pocket with power punches like Justin Gaethje? But watching recent fights against Rafael Fiziev, I'm seeing Gaethje crash himself into the clinch with his striking style. He ends up crouched in the pocket low or clinched up, where he can do a lot of good things with his dirty boxing. The problem with that against Pimblett, who isn't necessarily the best offensive wrestler, is that gives him trip opportunities. He's very slick with his inside and outside trips, maybe his back takes. We saw him take Chandler's back and then body slam him. And once this fight hits the mat, you're going to see a massive skill differential. Yes, Gaethje has a collegiate wrestling background, but we've rarely seen him use it in his MMA career, and he doesn't seem to have the jiu-jitsu skills and defense there. He got submitted by Khabib Nurmagomedov and Charles Oliveira in 2 title bids, and while I would never compare Paddy Pimblett to those legends, he does have close to similarly elite grappling skills. His triangle chokes from full guard, his triangle choke from top position, from half guard could work. I see him with, a lot of opportunities to find the submission that he wants. I got this out at plus 160 and it's down to plus 130 now. I think Paddy can win this fight with a choke, Claudia.
It is interesting with Gaethje's background in wrestling, the fact that he's only attempted 7 takedowns in his UFC career is just crazy, PC. But he is a BMF champ, as we know, so he's certainly scary to face. How do you approach this one?
Look, I love what Danny's saying, and I do think that's the equation fits right. It's the greatest strength in the fight against the greatest weakness put it together. But this could be the final fight of Justin Gaethje's career. So I think there's going to be an element of stubborn desperation that prevents him from getting put away so easily on the ground. He's still haunted by the idea that both Khabib and Charles Oliveira toyed with him on the ground when it went there and he got finished. I think that stubborn desperation will help him survive getting tapped out, but ultimately lead to him getting knocked out. Look, this is Paddy's time to show that he's elite, that he can go the championship rounds. And even though Gaethje is known for wearing guys down in the championship rounds, this is not prime Gaethje anymore. That guy's not coming through the door. The fight to end via knockout at plus 150 works both ways, because if Gaethje pulls the upset, it's going to be by knockout. And I think Paddy Pimblett, if you follow his words closely, he wants to really deliver the boom. Finish by knockout. I think it comes late in the fight when Gaethje is exhausted and worn down, and then you call out Ilia Topuria and you build to an absolutely can't miss fight. You're covered on both ends, plus 150 odds. Let's play.
And he has the chin to take it. I do think if Paddy wins, it's going to be with submission, which is nothing crazy. The market thinks that as well. So I'm going to take a little bit of both of your bets. I'm going to go with Gaethje to win by knockout and Paddy to win by submission. It's a little juicy at -175, but I'm soft and I want some wiggle room. So I'm going to give myself two outcomes, the two most likely outcomes in my mind. If it stays on the feet, I do think Gaethje wins it with the leg kicks, with the clinch. It's his fight to win, I think, if they stay up. Paddy has some issues getting guys down, but once it's down on the mat, it is his to win. Black belt in BJJ, 11 wins by submission. So I really could see this going either way. I don't want to pick. So Paddy by submission or Gaethje by knockout. There you have it, the co-main, the main events. When we come back on the other side, we're going to break down best bets and anything else that's on BC and Danny Brasco's mind. Don't go anywhere. Here we go, wrapping up UFC 324 on the early edge with Danny Brasco, Brian Campbell. I'm Claudia Bellofatto. We've given you guys a ton of bets. So what is our favorite end of the day bet on the board, Danny Brasco?
Well, in the main event, I went with Pimblett by submission, but the best bet, BC talked about the knockout ability. I'm taking Pimblett to win the fight inside the distance. I don't think he can afford to let this one go deep and let Gaethje's experience start to really take over. So I'm also not overlooking his ground and pound. We saw a vicious knee against Michael Chandler, put him down. And once he has position on the ground, he may not need to look for the submission. Like BC mentioned, if Gaethje's fighting it off at all costs, then the punches are going to start to mount up. And I think Paddy can win this one inside the distance. So -150, it's a fair price tag and helps you get some juice down on the money line. And Claudia, looking elsewhere, how are you going to give me +800 for a bantamweight title contender like Umar Nurmagomedov to knock out his opponent? Figueiredo only been knocked out twice and never cleaned the knee pop against Corey Sandhagen, the doctor stoppage against Brendan Moreno. But at this stage in his career, I mean, BC mentioned it. He's not looking good on the scales. We're not even sure if this fight's going to go off, so your play could void. But Umar at +800 to knock him out, this prop has cashed before. He slept Raoni Barcelos cold with a knee that missed and then a right-hand left hook that followed and put him down. He can put down solid veteran opponents, Brazilian at that. Maybe he does it to another Brazilian in Figueiredo here.
BC?
I can't get away from two money line upset picks with that plus money just hanging out there waiting for one to grab it. I'll reiterate my best upset before because I'm going to say it again. It's Derek Lewis +260 on the money line. Let me spin it like this. Being a Derek Lewis fan has to be like me being a New York Mets fan historically. He always loses when he should win, but yet he always finds a way to win when people are counting him out, and maybe he shouldn't be there. I'll admit his 3 wins in last 4 haven't come against super great competition, but he's in great shape. He typically implodes when the pressure's too big or his stamina isn't there. I still like the speed and power and ability to deliver it that he still holds at age 40, and I think he'll have the stamina should this fight go deeper into the second round there against Waldo Cortez Acosta, who's looking to make a big moment happen, but he might be trying too hard with this activity calendar. But my real upset best bet, yeah, it's Arnold Allen, +210. Look, I love Lord Silva. He's wild, he's out of control, he's unpredictable. That's also the thing that ends up being his undoing because he's too far emotional. Danny was right. Arnold Allen isn't the same wrestler Diego Lopez did, so it's not going to go the same way as that last fight. Silva had to overcome damage against Lopez, looked like he was about to finish it, and then got caught. The thing about Silva is he's so emotional that he just stood in front of the championship belt for pictures this week, and tears were running down his face. He cries in almost every interview. I'm not trying to talk negatively about the trauma he's endured in his life, but you cannot fight emotional at the highest level. He loves to get into sloppy brawls and lose the technique and go crazy. He actually told me, by the way, watch out for a sneaky creative elbow that no one's ever seen before. The problem, Arnold Allen has a heck of a chin. He once had a 10-fight win streak in this division. He knows everybody forgot about him, and I think Arnold Allen's starting to realize, with all the layoffs, inactivity, injuries, his time's running out. He must deliver. This fight is going to be the fight of the night. It's going to be a wild war. +210 Arnold Allen to pull it off. Give me that. This guy is the almighty. He's legit. He's for real. I love him. Let's do it.
How far do you see this going? Let me ask you that, because my original play on this was just going to be over 2.5 rounds. And I'm like, but I do think Silva wins it, so maybe I'll parlay it Do you see it going over 2.5 rounds?
It's really hard to say because of the crazy potential. Allen's chin gives you a great shot for this to go the distance. I think it's going to be enough for him to win 2 or 3 rounds.
Okay.
But Silva's such a wild card, but that's the deal. You're betting big on Silva because you like the craziness. The craziness will get you sunk, too.
I know. It can hurt him. But it's also so dangerous because he's just so spastic and aggressive on his feet. A little reckless, but it does damage. I'm going to go with Silva to win in over 2.5 rounds. But you're right with Allen. Everything about his chin, everything about his defense, the distance control, the guarding. He's defending almost 62% of the significant strikes his way. That is top 5 among featherweights. So the defense I cannot deny. He has the 5-round cardio against guys like Max Holloway. I understand all of that. But still, Silva just scares me. And I'm going to go with Silva too. I'm going to go over 2.5 rounds. And then also Gaethje by knockout, Paddy by submission, everything I mentioned. I think it's the 2 most likely outcomes. And that way you don't have to pick a side. You just hope that it goes one of 2 ways. Final thoughts on UFC 324. We got boxing tonight, the new era of UFC on Paramount+. BC?
Look, this is a big opportunity for UFC and for Paddy Pimblett to launch another star. And the idea, like we said earlier, that it could be Ilia Topuria next if he wins. Sarukian, the winner of Max Holloway versus Charles Oliveira in their BMF title rematch March 7th. It's going to be an exciting time in this division. It's going to be an exciting time, obviously, for the UFC in this new Paramount era. But as we build toward that White House card, which inevitably is going to have super fight after super fight, I really think is 2026 the new 2016? I don't know. I don't get down with internet trends, but I do get down with the idea that we're going to see fun super fights, crazy builds, and Saturday's just the beginning.
And we have Zuffa boxing tonight, Danny Brasco. We're all going to become bigger boxing fans now, something we've been waiting on for a while. Dana White has talked about it. Boxing, UFC, White House. What are your thoughts heading into tonight and tomorrow?
Yeah, I got a plus 425 underdog shot on my guy Austin Deonda tonight on Zuffa Boxing. So, look, I'm hoping to cash some big tickets for you guys. I'm really excited, mostly because the 2 most loaded divisions in the UFC, bantamweight and lightweight, have so many implications, so many fighters waiting in the wing. This is the elite of the elite, and a lot is going to be answered on this card. So I'm fired up for it, Claudia.
All right, guys, we have about 2 minutes here. I know you're both going on a show tomorrow with CBS as well. A little preview. What is the biggest storyline or play or topic you want to bring into tomorrow ahead of this fight card? BC?
Ahead of UFC 324, I think I just told you I'm backing my guy Arnold Allen. Don't forget about him, all right? By the way.
Okay, yeah.
No, it's not. It's really not. It's really not. Look, I mean, I really think it's populating the future of this division here at lightweight, which is so exciting. Hey, don't forget, welterweight's pretty darn deep and exciting as well. I just want to mention one name, and you might groan at me, but when we're talking about the lightweight title picture in the White House, Conor McGregor's also in play here, okay? So just don't. It wouldn't be insane if they gave this guy a title shot coming off all those years off, because membership does have its privilege when you're the #1 seller of all time.
Yeah, I mean, I think, right, Danny? Like, I was thinking that too. Everyone is, right? Come on.
It's definitely possible, but he just kept Michael Chandler waiting in the wing for 2 years, sidelined him, and kind of cooked his career. So I don't know what to make of Conor McGregor at this point. And looking at Paddy Pimblett's resume, you may see people talk about him having the easiest path to a title after, if he is able to pull this off over Gaethje, after wins over a fading Ferguson, perhaps a gift of a decision over Jared Gordon, King Green, aging Michael Chandler on the sidelines via Conor. You know, Paddy's going to have some real fights to defend. Even if he wins this belt, he still has a lot to prove, I think.
So everybody's looking at Paddy like the Patriots. Easiest schedule, cakewalk, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't matter. They took care of all their opponents. That's all that matters. And I will say, I saw Michael Chandler the other day. The only name that he would like to bring up in every conversation, Conor McGregor. So we'll see what happens with that White House card. Danny Brasco, Brian Campbell. I'm Claudia Bellofatto. Thank you guys for hanging out with us for UFC 324. And this is one early ad show, but we have several, and you can catch it Monday through Friday. Scan that QR code to watch now. SportsLine, it's our daily betting podcast. Thanks for hanging out with us. Enjoy UFC 324.